Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've talked about running backs in the past with Dynasty rankings, and I want to jump into the wide receiver position. This is a pretty depth position, which means we're going to talk about 24 players that I believe you should at least have on your roster, and I'll have them ranked from 24 down to 1, so we're going to count that down now. Now, before we do our countdown on this ranking for wide receivers from 24 down to the number 1 player, I do want to mention that we are sponsored from Ticket Network. If you guys are looking for any type of ticket or concert this summer and, of course, into football season, make sure you guys click on the link down below, get you some specials going on, some great prices in the industry to get you to the game you really want to go to. Now, jumping into this ranking, I've got 24 players here. Again, we're talking a 12-team league, so we're talking your wide receiver 1 and 2 on your roster. Now, of course, this is an early rankings. Things can change in the offseason. Things can change, obviously, during the season. And I may do one more update right before the season starts based off of how I feel the offense, I think, really drives through these players. Now, some of these players you may agree with. Some of these players you will not. Obviously, this is my rankings. I go really into the analytics and, of course, other reasons why I think they should be on your roster. Now, the number 24 spot, I've got DK Metcalf in there. Now, DK Metcalf, it's been a while since really DK has actually been a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. The biggest thing is last season, I think the last time he had that was 2021, I believe, is his last wide receiver 10 or better season. It's been a while. We get it. He's had some, I would say, up and downs. He's had some inconsistencies. Now, he's had some really great games. Some games you're like, man, he absolutely won me this week, but definitely an issue. Now, putting him here at the 24 spot, even here is kind of a stretch. I almost put him out of the top 24 just because there's a quarterback situation we don't know what's going on with. We've got Mason Rudolph, maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe the rookie Will Howard. We're not really sure. He lost his mate in George Pickens, who I thought was going to be a good pairing. Obviously, as a Cowboy fan, I love the pairing of Pickens and Lamb. But Metcalf is definitely too much of an uncertain situation that I feel like even at the 24 spot, I'm questioning it. But his talent is there. He is going to be force-fed quite a bit of targets his way, which will only help him. Again, no better than a wide receiver 2 on your fantasy team, but I still think his name is worth value, and I do think his ability should be there. Now, at number 23, I've got the rookie, Tet McMillan. McMillan right now obviously is a really good spot. He's going to be my second rookie on this list, and I'm sure you can guess who number 1 is, but he is my second rookie on this list, and he comes in a perfect situation with Carolina. Carolina, I thought, had a great end of the season. Obviously, still have the veteran Adam Thielen. Bryce Young looked really good the last few games. Really, the last half of the season, he looked really strong. I like Xavier Legette. And McMillan has looked really good in the OTA so far. I think he might actually be a player that might skyrocket in this list, but right now at 23 is a good spot. I can't put him in a wide receiver 1 spot until I see a little bit more, but I think wide receiver 2 is a perfect spot for him. He's got great routes, great body control, can get up in, really at the highest point, good speed for his size. And I think he's going to be a really, really good threat in the NFC South for years to come. I really love him there. Now, number 22, I've got DJ Moore. Some people could put Rome and Dunze here. Dunze I do like a lot. I did have him out of the top 24, and he may change a little bit. I think he's got great talent, but this offense I still think goes through DJ Moore. And look, you got a second year now with Caleb Williams, which is a big deal. And DJ Moore has been a really good focal point. Last year, he finished wide receiver 16. And again, he was really the short, medium range threat. He saw plenty of targets. He still had over 90 plus catches, which is 2 years in a row for him. And he's only 28 years old. He's not that old, right? Like, as a wide receiver, I get it. He's a little bit older. I still think he's got plenty of years left. And I think with all the added weapons with Adunze, you've got obviously Bird in there. I still think Moore is going to get a lot less double teams, which gives him a lot more chances to have a really successful season. He could have wide receiver 1 games, but I still think he's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 on your roster. At number 21, I got Mike Evans, Mr. 1000. Like, he continues to defy odds against Father Time. Evans finished as wide receiver 7 last year, but he's being treated completely out of that. And I get it. Dynasty, you're talking age, right? That's the biggest factor for him. But he's still a touchdown machine. He's a big focal point in this offense. Baker Mayfield has got a great connection with him. And obviously with Godwin coming out of injury, Agbuka is a big one. I think he's a great add. But I still think Evans is going to be the heavily targeted wide receiver. He's not going to be that 90-plus catch type of receiver anymore. Is he going to get 1,000 yards? Most likely, right? That's kind of the biggest thing with him. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. And for your fantasy team, if you're looking to win now, Mike Evans should be on it. Now, if you're talking a startup, I would put Evans more in that wide receiver 2 range, which is where I have him right here at 21. Can he finish in the top 10? Absolutely. But if you're talking Dynasty, you got to start lowering his expectations because he is getting up there in age, and we don't know how much longer he is going to be around. But while you have him, he is still a top 15 plus, if not better, wide receiver in fantasy. Now, number 20, I've got Zay Flowers here, a young player that I really like. Great offense for him. I think him and Lamar Jackson has really developed into something. He's not the problem that I have with Zay Flowers. I'm not quite sure he's a wide receiver 1 yet. Like, he's getting close. He's got potential. There are some mishaps here and there. Maybe a route ran wrong, or he's, it's just, there's something about it where he just hasn't quite clicked. But I do think he's got that potential, and I like him here at number 20. Right now, he finished wide receiver 24, and he kind of finishes in that wide receiver 28 range. Like, that's where he's at most in the 2 seasons that he's played. So with that said, I think Zay Flowers has the potential to have some wide receiver 1 outputs. He has some wide receiver 1 games for sure, but I don't know if he's quite a wide receiver 1. His age is obviously going to help him. And again, another year under this Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson will help. He's got the veteran DeAndre Hopkins still able to help teach him. You got Mark Andrews. You got Rashad Bateman, who I really like. Again, really good offense for him. Now, at number 19, I got Devonta Smith. Now, Devonta Smith, without A.J. Brown and in a better offense, would be a wide receiver 1. I think he's got that talent. He's done it before, but he's kind of stuck in that wide receiver 2 spot because, one, you got to be very honest with this offense. This is a rush-first offense, right? You got Saquon Barkley, you got Jalen Hurts. They do love passing to Dallas Goedert. You got A.J. Brown on the outside. It kind of limits what Devonta Smith can do. Now, Devonta Smith can have some really amazing games, but he's realistically just going to be your wide receiver 2 on this roster. And until this offense changes the scheme and goes into a more pass-heavy offense, which I don't think they're going to do with Jalen Hurts, Smith is kind of stuck at that wide receiver 2 spot. Now, if he were to ever get traded or, ends his contract at some point and then moves on, that might change in fantasy. But right now in my Dynasty rankings, he's at number 19. Number 18, I've got Rashee Rice. I don't believe Rice will ever be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Again, I think a really high quality, mid to high wide receiver 2, because one, the offense, Patrick Mahomes definitely does a good job at spreading the ball. He still has his favorite target in Kelsey. You've got Xavier Worthy you got to deal with. You got Hollywood Brown you got to deal with. With all that said, though, Rashee Rice is probably the best talented player in their passing offense right now. Kelsey's talented, but he's up there in age, and you saw it last season. He's starting to, regress, unfortunately. Rice is dealing with, obviously, an injury that he's coming off with. Obviously, he's got legality issues that you're kind of still waiting to see what's going to happen with that. So that kind of diminishes his ranking in all. Could I put him in the wide receiver 15, 14 range? That's kind of where I'd like to see him get to. Right now, just because of everything else going on and in the way this offense is played, Rashee Rice is perfect at the wide receiver 18 spot. Now, jumping at wide receiver 17, I got T. Higgins. Higgins, again, another injury you got to deal with. I think he only played 12 games last season, which is a big issue. That 2 seasons in a row where he really hasn't played more than 12 games. Definitely a concern. You got to play a factor in. Now, he did got obviously nice little extension. You've got obviously Jamar Chase you got Joe Burrow. This offense is made for both Higgins and Chase. Higgins will see wide receiver 1 outputs plenty of times throughout the season, but realistically, he's wide receiver 2. Look, his best season, he was wide receiver 10 or 17. He finished there. Last year he had 10 touchdowns. He averaged 18.5 points a game, which was amazing. Had he played the full season, he actually would have finished at wide receiver 6. So the potential is there, and this offense, like I said, is really, really there. With Burrow being the focal point in this offense, and obviously both being Chase and Higgins, both players are obviously going to see plenty of targets. But again, like I mentioned, in this offense, Higgins is the second option, which means he's going to be your wide receiver 2. Could it be a wide receiver 1 on a team that maybe is not very high in depth? possibly in fantasy, but realistically, he's your wide receiver too. And jumping into the next wide receiver, I've got Terry McLaurin at wide receiver 16. Having Jaden Daniels just resurged and rejuvenated McLaurin at this past season, and I think it's only going to help him going forward. Producing his best performance ever, where he averaged 15.8 points a game. He had 13 touchdowns last season, which is second in the league, which was amazing. And then, of course, his average per game is something that you really want to see an increase of, right? He's always been a good wide receiver, right? He always had good games. He was always very good at being a high quality wide receiver 2, low quality wide receiver 1. And that was with all the quarterback situations. Now you got Deebo Samuel added to the offense. We'll see how that plays out because Deebo, unfortunately, has regressed in his quality. But Jaden Daniels and a second year with him, it's going to be huge for Terry McLaurin. I love what this has done for him in his career, and I think he's going to absolutely move up. He could end up being a wide receiver 1 going forward. Now, at number 15 is my other rookie that I have on here, which is Travis Hunter for the Jags. So Hunter is an interesting prospect. If you're in an IDP league, Hunter's probably going to be near the top 5 when it comes to wide receiver rankings, just because he's going to be able to be scored both ways, right? Being able to play cornerback and wide receiver in an IDP league is going to be a game-changing prospect. We'll see how things play out in this upcoming season. With that said, though, even if you're not in an IDP league, his youth, his big playability, being able to go up for the ball, his explosive plays really adds value. Now, I will say this, Brian Thomas Jr., I think, is still their wide receiver 1. I don't know if Hunter's going to quite be that. I think Hunter's going to be utilized in many different ways. I think of Hunter as like a Percy Harvin back in the day. I don't know if everybody remembers Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was an amazing athlete. I mean, he could do it all. And Hunter's, I think, a little bit more of a better athlete than Percy Harvin. And I think a better, more polished wide receiver at this point. We'll see how things play out. This is going to be an offense that's absolutely going to utilize the passing game. And you saw what Liam Cohen did with the Bucs offense, and I think he's going to improve this Jags offense. It will obviously fall on what Trevor Lawrence does, but I love Travis Hunter kind of at that wide receiver 2 spot. Now, at wide receiver 14, Garrett Wilson is right there. This one probably will, upset some people because I think some people see him as a wide receiver 1, and I think he has the ability. Last year was the first year he cracked the top 10 in fantasy, though. So, again, the signs are there. He is now, reunited with his college quarterback in Justin Fields, which I think is a big deal. We'll see how well Justin Fields plays because he's not very consistent. He does have some big plays that you're like, wow, he should be a starter. And then you have some plays you're like, yeah, I understand why he's been kind of on 3 different teams in the past 3 seasons. So there's a factor there. But I will say with, the reuniting with Fields is huge. Garrett Wilson saw 156 targets last season. They don't really have a wide receiver 2 opposite of him that's going to make a big factor. So Wilson will still see plenty of targets. So I think with the abundance of targets, having Fields there, being able to move around the pocket, I think is a big deal for him in this Jets and poor offensive play. I still like Garrett Wilson. I think wide receiver 14 is a good spot. Again, right before the season starts, I may end up moving him. We'll see how things play out, but I do love him at this spot. Number 13, Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think, is in a prime spot here. Look, JSN absolutely had the opportunity to shine last year, and he took it. With Lockett obviously dropping in the depth chart and not being a focal point, Metcalf kind of missing a few games here and there. Jason absolutely took advantage of it, and he was the main target for Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith's gone. You got Sam Darnold there. Metcalf's gone. Lockett's gone. This is JSN's team. Now, they did add Cooper Kupp this offseason, which I think will actually help him out. I do think there's got to be some connection built first with Sam Darnold and Smith-Njigba. We'll see how that plays out, but I think the opportunities are there. His youth is there, which is going to continue to add value to JSN and obviously moving him up in the rankings. But I think him being just outside that wide receiver 1 spot is kind of the perfect spot for him. Now, jumping into the wide receiver 1s, and we're going from 12 down to 1. And again, this is a list that I think these guys are your wide receiver 1. If you were to build a startup team, these are the guys you should at least go after when you're drafting. Ladd McConkey's at number 12. McConkey actually blew away last season. I did not think he was going to be as good as he was, and he was a great pairing for Justin Herbert and in this offense. Now we'll see how things play out going forward. Obviously, sometimes there's that sophomore slump for a lot of rookies. So we'll see how that does. But again, he did an amazing job. Last year, he finished the last 7 games averaging 18.6 points a game, which was amazing. And again, this offense, we'll see an improvement. You've got a better run game with Hampton and Najee Harris. I like Trey Harris, who they drafted. I think there's going to be a lot of improvement in this offense in general. And again, hopefully there's no sophomore slump, but I think McConkey's in a really prime position to be an absolute stud going forward. Number 11, I got Nico Collins. He's kind of fallen a little bit on some lists, and I think a lot of it is I worry about CJ Stroud, actually. The disrespect for Nico Collins is absolutely there, but with Stroud having that lingering shoulder injury, he didn't play great last season. Again, sophomore slump. That kind of worries me a little bit going forward. But with some of the issues last season, Collins did finish wide receiver 23, but he missed some time. He still averaged over 17 points a game, which if he had played the full season would have put him at wide receiver 12, which is about where I rank him right now. And coming into the season, there's no more, obviously, Stephon Diggs. You're still dealing with Tank Dell being out. Now, they did add some rookies in the offseason. You got Higgins, you got Christian Kirk in the free agency. So they're obviously still weapons for this offense. But I still think Nico Collins will be Stroud's focal point and really main target. I just want to see a little bit more out of Stroud before I really jump Nico Collins any higher, but I think he's in a perfect spot at wide receiver 11. Now, wide receiver 10, I've got Brian Thomas Jr. Great year out of Brian Thomas. I talked highly of him last year. I got many shares of him as much as I could. I thought him and Neighbors were almost equal, and I do have Thomas a little bit lower just because I do worry that adding Travis Hunter will affect him a little bit. He won't go as high as where he was last season, which we finished wide receiver 4. He saw 133 targets. He scored double-digit touchdowns. I mean, again, he was amazing. I do think Hunter will add some value in some cases just because the defenses won't have to solely focus on Brian Thomas. But I do think that he won't get as many targets. I think Cohen will still try to establish a run with Etienne and Bigsby, so I think that will change a little bit. I don't think Lawrence will have the ball in his hands as often. So that's kind of why I put Brian Thomas a little bit lower than where I think some other rankings have been out there. At number 9, I've got Marvin Harrison Jr. I understand last year was not the year that I thought a lot of people thought he was going to play at. He showed a lot of flashes. He had some good rapport with Kyler Murray. But again, I think a lot of people had high expectations because he was drafted really high. The pedigree of his game, he played really amazing in college. I mean, one of the best wide receivers coming out of college. But again, he did not shine. I expect him to be, I think he get into being a top 5 wide receiver going forward in Dynasty. Have him at 9 with a little bit of hesitation because I still have Murray. I'm not a huge fan of Murray. I think he's a good fantasy quarterback, but as far as an actual quarterback, there's a lot of limitations with him. He has some inconsistencies. He does not pass accurately enough that I feel like Marvin Harrison can take advantage of that. With that said, though, Marvin Harrison has bulked up. He looks good. His routes are crisp. He's got one of the best hands in the game. I still think he's going to be up there. Number 9 is kind of, I think, the perfect spot right now. At number 8, I've got A.J. Brown. Last year was rough for Brown, though. You got to give, I understand the Eagles won a Super Bowl, and obviously that's what he wants. I think every player wants that over stats. But if you're talking fantasy, he finished at wide receiver 20. And an offense that really focuses on the run. Saquon Barkley became a star. Obviously, Hurts is a big touchdown machine when it comes to the tush push. So this really hurts A.J. Brown. Unless he's running a big 20-plus yard catch for a touchdown, it's not going to happen as often in the red zone. So with that said, I do think people forget, though, prior 2 years, Brown was a top 10 wide receiver. And in an offense that obviously puts a focus on the run, I still think Brown is a plus top 10 wide receiver. And he's a little bit older than obviously Devonta Smith, but his big body, his big hands, he can go up for the ball, good route runner. He's physical, good speed. He absolutely should be in the top 10. I love him at wide receiver 8. I think this is a perfect spot. At number 7, I got Drake London. London actually looked amazing. Makes the top 10 really after the best season he's had, obviously, since he's been a rookie. With Cousins and Penix at quarterback, definitely helped. The former first-round pick, I think, I obviously kind of got forgotten. His size is great. He's got great 50-50 balls. And now he's got a full off season with Penix. at the quarterback position, which is going to be great. He's got to adjust to that left-hand throw. It does make a difference, I understand. But I think this is a really good spot. I know we have Kyle Pitts still there. I loved Mooney as the opposite receiver. Bijan Robinson is a huge threat to consider. So again, Drake London is not going to be the focal point for defenses, which is great news for him because he's like a Mike Evans-esque type of physical player. That's what I love about him. He's in a good offense. I love Michael Penix at quarterback. I know Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but Penix is, I think, is going to be the best thing for Drake London going forward. At number 6, I got Puka Nacua. Puka is an interesting one because he finished as wide receiver 26 last season, but he still averaged over 18 points a game when he was in the game. He missed some time, obviously, and that's obviously a big concern. Well, I will say this. He looks good so far this offseason. He's learning from Devonta Adams, who's been added to the roster. Obviously, Devonta Adams is a great wide receiver, and I almost put him in this list, but I want to see a little bit more out of him. He still has his veteran quarterback in Matthew Stafford. You got Kyron Williams in the backfield. The offense is going to look really, really good. And with Devonta Adams being there, teams are going to focus on Adams. You cannot leave Adams one-on-one, which means Puka is going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And man, was he force-fed. When he came back from his injury last season, you saw how much of a difference he made. And Cooper Kupp pretty much did not exist in this offense anymore. Everyone who had Cooper Kupp last season saw it, felt it, hated it. But Puka Nacua is absolutely Stafford's favorite wide receiver at this point. I do think Adams will help. I love him at number 6. And number 5, Malik Neighbors. Some people might think this is a little high. Some people have him even higher. Neighbors has had a great rookie season, and that's with the tumultuous quarterback play that they had for the Giants. Now you got Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. I mean, you got obviously different options at the quarterback position. Russell Wilson is going into this camp as the starter. We'll see how things may change. But again, an upgrade compared to what he had last season that was throwing to him. And with the quarterback play of an increase, obviously, Neighbors is going to see better ball placement. He's going to see better opportunities his way. And he played amazing last season. He averaged almost 20 points a game towards the end of the season. He had a little bit of a lull during the middle, but towards the end of the season, he averaged 20 points per game in the last 6 games, which was amazing. Absolutely skyrocketed him to the top 5. I still think him and Brian Thomas are very similar. I just think he's in a better position to have more opportunities his way. Number 4, I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Look, there's no reason to put him anywhere else but number 4. I've seen him go to number 5 or number 6. I've seen other players get ahead of him. He was wide receiver 3 last year. He's got some of the best hands in the game, but some of the best route running in the game. He is an absolute favorite for Jared Goff, and Jared Goff is going to force feed him plenty of times. And he absolutely dominated. And that was with Jameson Williams having his better season, right? Like JMO was a big increase, which only helped Amon-Ra St. Brown. Laporta obviously took a little bit of a regression, which was kind of expected because he was a touchdown machine the year before. But you still have Laporta, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got David. This offense has got plenty of weapons that allows Amon-Ra to be the guy who he is and be consistently the best receiver in that division. I know that sounds weird because Justin Jefferson's there, but I think because of the opportunities, Amon-Ra with the quarterback play, close. Now, of course, I'm going to give Justin Jefferson the talent, so I have him a little bit higher. At number 3, I got CeeDee Lamb. I almost put CeeDee Lamb at number 2. Not because I'm a homer, but because I felt like he's so close to being number 2. But I have him a wide receiver 3 because, again, the Dak quarterback situation of being healthy is a concern. Dak has not been healthy the last few seasons, and it's showing. When Dak is healthy and there, CeeDee Lamb is absolutely a beast. He averaged still 16.5 points without Dak, and obviously with Dak there, he's averaging over 18. And with obviously Pickens now added to this roster, it allows teams to, one, not focally point out Lamb. He's still going to get double covered, but it allows this offense to move Lamb a lot around, putting him in the slot like he used to, which I think he's his best spot. You can move him outside, you can move him wherever you needed to because you still have Pickens, who is a great big, deep threat down the field that allows him to kind of be underneath and make the big plays and explosive plays. So I love Lamb here. Almost, again, wide receiver 2, but I have to give the edge to Justin Jefferson. Look, Justin Jefferson, I think is still so talented. The only reason I almost lowered him is just because I'm not sure about the quarterback play. Now, Sam Darnold, who I wasn't sure about, still looked amazing, was still able to get Justin Jefferson the ball. And obviously now you've got McCarthy coming in there. We'll see how he plays. That's probably my only hesitation. Because Justin Jefferson has got one of the most talented, route running, best hands. He obviously can make big plays down the field. Whether he's double, triple, doesn't matter. He's going to get the ball. And he is that almost 1A, 1B type of thing with my number one wide receiver, which I'm sure you can guess. But I love Justin Jefferson here. We'll see how McCarthy plays out. Obviously, that may change mid-season to late season in the upcoming season, because if McCarthy does not play to the standard that I'm hoping, Justin Jefferson's value might slightly take a dip. Now, of course, my number one wide receiver is Jamar Chase. Man, was he amazing last season. He finished number one last season, and he had 17 touchdowns, which led the league in receiving. He had over 1,700 receiving yards, and only Lamar Jackson scored more fantasy points than Jamar Chase last season. Let that sink in a little bit. Like, Lamar Jackson obviously is a stud, and with his rushing ability and quarterback play, I get that. But Jamar Chase was so close to being number one overall. And I think it's only going to get better, right? Jamar Chase is in a perfect offense where he's going to get force-fed plenty of targets. He's still going to be a touchdown machine. He has absolutely got that embedded connection with Joe Burrow since college days. I mean, it is the perfect spot for Jamar Chase. There's no way you're ever going to go into a draft, whether it's redraft, dynasty startup, whatever, and not get Jamar Chase above any other receiver at this time. So those are my 1 through 24 wide receivers currently in Dynasty. If you guys have questions, trade questions, maybe you want to critique the list, let me know in the comments down below. Again, don't forget to check out my link at ticketnetwork.com to get you guys some great tickets this, during the summer. And of course, going into the season, we've got some great specials going on there. Check out my other rankings as well. And I'll check you guys out next time.